and welcome to Views on News. My name is Naila Shuja. Now, in recent development, China has asked the Taliban to live up to their promises. As per the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Kabul needs to introduce political reforms and set up an all-inclusive government so that recognition could come its way. Now, something Pakistan agrees with. That being said, the Taliban must hold its ground and not allow non-state actors to use its soil for nefarious activities across the border in Pakistan. Simultaneously, the Afghan Taliban must allow the educational freedom to women and the freedom to religious minorities. In order to be included in the regional and international political domain, it is extremely imperative that the Afghan Taliban engages in activities that are in the benefit of its own people. We have recently witnessed the surge in TTP attacks in Pakistan, and in order to fully comprehend the situation, in today's conversation in the studio, we have Mr. Naveed Aman Khan and Air Vice Marshal retired Ijaz Malik. And on Skype, we are joined by Mr. Syed Zulfiqar Ali, who is a research associate at the Center for Strategic and Contemporary Studies. I'd like to welcome you all to Views on News. Thank you so much for joining me. It is a pleasure to have you guys on the show. Now, let's just dive into the conversation and really get into the juice of it. So in a recent statement, China also advised the Afghan Taliban, to fulfill their commitments, right? Do you think that this will compel Kabul to take more initiatives to fulfill its commitments, especially regarding terrorism?
Definitely, because China is very important for Afghanistan at this stage, because China is the only country who has deputed its full-fledged ambassador to Afghanistan, and simultaneously Afghanistan has sent its full-fledged ambassador, Mr. Bilal Karimi, to China. This is the first incident that keeping the entire world aside, China and Afghanistan has initiated to have bilateral diplomatic relationship. Pakistan has always been complaining to Afghanistan regarding its law and order situation. From Afghanistan, the terrorists, the TTP or the other outfits have been attacking on Pakistan, in particular in Balochistan and in KPK. But the Afghan Taliban government has never been paying attention towards the Pakistan complaints. China also feels that this situation will really spoil that agenda of economic development along this route, that is CPEC. CPEC requires peaceful atmosphere or climate or circumstances in the region. The Afghan government doesn't realize the ground realities and the dynamics of the political dynamics of the region. This is why China now has pushed Afghanistan to rethink or restructure or reorganize themselves as far as their relationship with Pakistan are concerned, because Afghanistan is not having very good relationship with Pakistan as compared to its other neighboring countries like China or the Central Asian states. They are very comfortable, but it is Afghanistan who is keeping this border hot, and this is against the prosperity or the development or the advancement of the region. I think Afghan government will feel this pressure and will mend its ways, and it will be very good for the future of both of the countries. When I say both of the countries, it means Pakistan and Afghanistan.
All right, now I'm going to throw this question to you, Mr. Malik. What do you have to say on this regard?
My opinion would be that whatever my worthy colleague has mentioned, it may be a little, early at this stage to be very positive, but definitely this statement that you have referred in your intro, it has its own significance. What response would come from Kabul regime, that's yet to be seen. Because ever since they're taken over the reins in Kabul, the promises they have made to the world at large and to the regional countries, in particular at Doha and afterward, they have not been able to live up to those promises. And the very simple reason is that the expectation of the regional countries, neighbors, and the Western worlds, they were different. This time around, everybody was expecting that this particular generation of Taliban, who are little more educated as compared to their original first regime post Soviet withdrawal, and they have better awareness of the regional politics and the global changes and the sensitivities of the world at large. But unfortunately, they have not shown any flexibility towards the sensitivities of the neighbors. Let's say, for example, Pakistan has been repeatedly requesting them and protesting with them regarding the issue of the TTP, who are definitely residing, the leadership is residing within Afghan territory. Not only that they have not done anything at all to support Pakistan in this context, and we have seen the recent surge in militancy and terrorist attacks in Pakistan, but they have not even shown any intent. There could be an issue of capacity with them, and we understand that they do not have overall control of the Afghanistan territory. It is fragmented and mostly they are in the Pashtun belts, but that's the area of concern to us also. And they haven't shown even any substantial intent to cooperate with Pakistan. Had they been cooperative, at least they could have shared the intel with us and we could have conducted joint operations maybe to curb this menace. As far as the Chinese side is concerned, yes, they want a stable Afghanistan because this is a significant epicenter in the region where the connectivity, where the natural resources and everything which matters to China's Belt and Road Initiative and other economic developments in the region that matters.
Excellent.
And definitely, because China has recently invested more than $400 million in oil and gas sector in Afghanistan, and even China is paying more attention on mining sector in Afghanistan. So because of that investment, which is very much important for Afghanistan, Afghanistan will not be in the position to ignore China and Chinese concern, which China has shown today about the regional political stability or the law and order and the peace situation, and the situation within the country regarding the human rights or the rights of the women or the children, whatsoever is the concern of the entire world, is the same concern which China has shown. And if Afghanistan has been ignoring Pakistan and the entire world, but Afghanistan will not be in the better position to ignore China because of that investment, which is the only investment which China has made. The rest of the world has totally ignored Afghanistan as far as the investment is concerned.
Of course. So just to reiterate, we also have a third guest. Sadly, he's not here in the studio itself, but we do have him on air. And coming to you, Mr. Ali, with respect to China, China has been known to be a country which believes in multilateral engagements and a proponent of interdependent economic growth, and still China has certain reservations about the Afghan interim government that the diplomatic recognition will come naturally at the right time. Now, that being said, how can Afghanistan build an inclusive political framework, prudent domestic and foreign policies, and combat all types of terrorist, forces?
Afghanistan would firstly need to build an inclusive government. Till the point they build an inclusive government, they cannot go anywhere near international recognition, and they cannot formulate policies which would lead to international recognition. For them to create an inclusive government, they will have to bring in all the other sects in Afghanistan, not only the Pashtuns, and they will also have to include people and voices they are currently or have been repressing. They will have to bring in the women and the minorities. With respect to China, China will also, like the rest of the international community, only recognize Afghanistan when it has an inclusive government which makes policies which are not only for the power elite in Kabul but for the whole country.
All right, now Ali, you mentioned human rights and the um, the women empowerment aspect. Now, as per the Human Rights Watch report, it's not only females who are suffering due to the regressive educational policies, right? But rather males as well. What do you think that the Afghan Taliban can do to make these policies more progressive as per the Doha Agreement?
I think the Afghan Taliban will have to recognize that females make up a large demographic of their country. And for example, in the report, it states that they've fired all female teachers from all male schools. So that means that those students now have either underqualified teachers taking those classes or no teachers at all, just students with empty classes, in empty classes with no teachers. So they will have to realize that women make up a good chunk of the society and they will need to be included to further society, to drive it towards productivity.
All right, excellent. Now coming to you, Mr. Malik, now with your experience in the forces, right, we have recently witnessed the surge of TTP attacks, and investigation suggests that they're using arms left over by the U.S. forces. Now, do you think that a U.S. hasty, pullout could potentially be the reason for the spike in the terrorist activities?
Yes, it could be attributed to availability of weapons. But to be honest, there wasn't any shortage of weapons or resources to them even without that. Because they have convergence of interest with our arch enemy, that is India. India has been supportive even while the NATO forces were here in Afghanistan. Even at that time, the connections and support by India, particularly in our erstwhile FATA area, and then in the Balochistan. So that support in terms of funding as well as training and equipment, that has always been available to them. So that is an additional factor, but that's not only the root cause. The root cause is that there are two dimensions of this surge. One is obviously to take advantage of the freedom of action that they have under present chaotic situation within Afghanistan, and secondly, in Balochistan particularly, they want to hurt on the behest of certain other global or regional powers to damage the Chinese interest and the CPEC in the Balochistan area. So that's one of the main target. Although recently all attacks we have seen, they are mostly against the law enforcement agencies, and obviously that signifies that they want to discredit the capacity or the potential of our valiant law enforcement and armed forces. But the selection of target, it signifies that their intent is to damage the CPEC, and then they have their linkages with the BLA, for example, and BLA is supported. It is we have provided sufficient evidence in terms of dossiers at number of occasions to United Nations and other international forums that there has been involvement of India in instability and creating a state of insurgency at times within Balochistan.
All right, now you mentioned CPEC and Afghanistan. I want to elaborate a little bit on that. When it comes to Afghanistan, you keep mentioning that it wants to damage the CPEC aspect of it, right? But how do you see that? Is there a potential for Afghanistan to actually benefit from CPEC, Or how do you see this playing out?
Exactly, this is a very dicey situation. We have to see it in the larger global context. Once we were even, fighting alongside the world coalition of over 50 countries within Afghanistan, and we were the non-NATO allies. Even at that time, the same Western world had a different strategy and approach towards Balochistan area. So they were, while we were fighting alongside them in our then NWFP and present KP area, we were supporting them, we were providing logistics, and we were with them. But they were not, helping us in Balochistan region, because it is not Afghanistan per se who would be against the development coming under the initiative of Belt and Road Initiative or CPEC. It is the powers which are anti-Chinese influence within region, which are on ground are represented by India, and with the support of United States and other allies. So it is basically Afghanistan is involved because of the support of these elements. Otherwise, in the larger context, if the sanity prevails in the thought process and the policy making in Kabul, they should take advantage of such a massive development happening in their backyard. And they can be, all the inflow from the Central Asian states in and out can be routed through Afghanistan territory, be
Excellent.
it oil and other resources. So they can be benefited.
Of course. Now coming to Mr. Khan, would you care to elaborate and give us your perspective on this situation?
One thing is very important as far as Afghanistan's relationship with the Pakistan is concerned. That is their economic aspect. Afghanistan is a landlocked country along with Central Asia, but we have no problem with Central Asia, we have problem with Afghanistan because Afghanistan is creating problem for Pakistan. Afghanistan depends upon Pakistan for its economy and uses Pakistan's ports like Karachi port and Gwadar port are available for Afghanistan and entire Central Asia. This shows how non-serious behavior they have. Their bread and butter, their prosperity, their everything, livelihood depends upon Pakistan, and they're damaging Pakistan. They're annoying Pakistan. They need to please Pakistan. They need to create that comfort to Pakistan because Pakistan is creating that comfort level to Afghanistan as far as the trade and all that sort of business is concerned for Afghanistan. If today Pakistan stops that leverage to Afghanistan, Afghanistan will be in deep trouble. And this is the madness of Afghan government that they don't bother for it. No matter we create such restrictions for them, they don't take care of it. They will have to take care of it because for the good of their country and the nation. Like, they're not taking care of the education or health cares for the minor girls or the ladies working.
Of course, we're going to be coming to that, but just quickly, I'd like to ask Mr. Ali this question as well. So the interim government in Kabul, do you think that it is actually thinking about its people, especially when it comes to the economic aspect or the social aspect or the religious aspect?
With respect to the economic aspect and the humanitarian or people aspect, Afghanistan is currently facing a humanitarian crisis. The international aid has started to lessen as compared to last year or the year before that. International donors are wary of giving Afghanistan aid because they have not changed their policies. I've asked them time and again to bring back girls and women to education. They've asked the Afghan government to lift the ban on female NGO workers. Almost all international NGOs ceased to work or either curtailed their work in Afghanistan because of that. Till the Afghan government looks at these policies and sees how they can change these and listen to the international community, it's not going to change. It's not going to change what the people are facing in Afghanistan.
All right. So coming back to you, Mr. Malik. Now, time and again, Pakistan have asked the Afghan Taliban to control the TTP. I'm so sorry. We had a technical issue right there. But again, Mr. Malik, now time and again, Pakistan has asked the Afghan Taliban to control the TTP and eliminate the terrorist sanctuaries, right? So why is the Afghan Taliban still failing to do so? In your opinion, can you, and please really elaborate on this, because again, we need a perspective from the defense and, you know, armed forces perspective.
You know, we need to understand the historical and social aspect of this phenomena. If we just trace back this phenomena, Taliban themselves and the TTP faction, they belong to a certain ethnic group. Their presence is in a certain area, which is essentially the southern Afghanistan and the Pashtun belt neighboring Pakistan. So they have some, they have cultural, social, and even they have relations with each other. So it is very difficult, I think, for them to take any action against one of their own that they consider. So given a choice, they would always side with their own ethnicity and their own ideological background people rather than with Pakistan. So that is one issue. And secondly, it is a capacity issue as well. Current Afghan regime is essentially having control in Kabul. They do not enjoy their control in entire Afghanistan. And that is why there is a significance in the Chinese statement that you referred to, that they have reiterated that it should be an all-inclusive, all-representative government, so that other regions also feel on board. And surprisingly, one issue which has not been highlighted in this statement, but that is also of very significant importance, and since it has a attached sensitivity for China, is the presence of East Turkestan Islamic movement in Afghanistan. That is a group which was declared a terrorist group by United States even, but surprisingly some time back they have been that status has been revoked, and they said that we didn't find any sufficient evidence to continue holding them on that blacklist. But they are responsible. Beijing has always been showing its concern that in the eastern side of China, these people have been responsible for creating a kind of militancy or extremely pro-Islamic movement over there. So that is a point of concern as far as the national security of China is concerned. So it's not only the economic interest, it is the regional politics and the Chinese own national security, which has linkages with stability, the political stability, economic stability and development in Afghanistan.
All right, excellent. Now I'd like to ask you.
Yes, I have been to China many times, and I have observed the same thing in China, Xinjiang province. East Turkmenistan Islamic movement have been very active in Xinjiang province, but Chinese government very successfully has controlled that situation, worsening situation in Xinjiang province. Now the things are very much in control in Xinjiang province, but China is not sleeping as far as the any such incident is concerned. They don't want to allow any terrorist group coping up with East Turkmenistan Islamic movement along Afghanistan border, because they are already present in Afghanistan, and China doesn't want them to let in Xinjiang province and create problem for the Xinjiang development or matters. But they have given this statement to Afghanistan government because of this this matter as well, because China has invested a lot in Afghanistan, and now China doesn't want any ethnic group or any terrorist group creating that problem and halting that development process in Afghanistan and along this route. So they want the other ethnic groups and the other groups, political groups, be inclusive to the government of Afghanistan, so that the Afghan government should be very much comfortable, so that China should be very comfortable as far as its development work in Afghanistan is concerned. And if that peace prevails in Afghanistan, that will definitely affect Pakistan, and that will also be helpful as far as the development along CPEC is concerned. If we just consider Afghans' involvement in TTP's matters, yes, they have been supporting or they have been backing TTP to attack Pakistan, which Pakistan has very clearly and categorically shown its concern to Afghan government to either to don't back anymore to the TTP or the other outfits which are included in TTP, like Hafiz Gul Bahadur group and the other groups which were involved in Banu blast. So now I think because of this statement from Chinese government, Afghanistan will have to rethink. And
Right.
they will rethink because it is very difficult for them to ignore because of that investment which China is making with Afghanistan.
Of course. Now, Mr. Ali, coming to you, what measures does the Afghan Taliban need to take so that the insurgents don't cross into Pakistan and attack the civilians here?
Firstly, I think they need to accept the Durand Line. The Afghan government didn't accept the Durand Line in the 90s when the Taliban came to power, and they don't do right now as well. How can they undertake border management with or border security when they don't even accept it? They have to stop the free flow of people from both sides, Afghanistan to Pakistan. For that, they'll need to have to accept the Durand Line. Secondly, they'll have to listen to what Pakistan has to say. Pakistan has multiple times given them credible intelligence that TTP is operating in Afghanistan. They're undertaking planning from there, and they're carrying out attacks in Pakistan via Afghanistan. They'll have to work on that. They'll have to build a structure to take those elements out, imprison them, capture them, or get rid of them somehow. If there is a capacity issue, they can work with the regional neighbors and they can ask them to help them in capacity.
No, I don't think any neighboring country or like Pakistan or the other countries can do anything for Afghanistan. They will have to build up their own capacity by themselves. I mean, they will have to govern their country by themselves. Otherwise, once again, America or the NATO countries will come to assist them like they have been assisting them in past. So no country or no organization can help any country or organization or the government to build the capacity, because ultimately the Afghans will have to rule their country by themselves, and they will rule by themselves. But one thing which is very important for the Afghan government to understand is they need to understand the international dynamics of living in the world, how they need to live or survive politically, diplomatically, economically. So they don't know that mechanism of diplomatic way and the political way. They just want to have that easy money which they earn from smuggling or ransom or like that. They don't believe in even work. So China has now involved them to come for work, to make them habitual of working atmosphere. So what is very important for Afghanistan to mend their ways, look how the world is surviving and moving ahead. China on the neighbors is moving, on a rapid pace. Pakistan, mashallah, is on its, economic boom now. Central Asia is already developed. What is wrong with Afghanistan? Their mentality, their way of thinking, their priorities are their problem. So they will have to mend those ways and opt or follow those countries or the nations who are making that rapid progress in the region.
Of course. Mr. Ali, would you care to add anything?
If there is a capacity issue in Afghanistan, ask for help. I don't mean undertaking kinetic operations inside Afghanistan, I mean intelligence sharing, training their forces to better undertake counterterrorism operations and how to conduct intelligence?
For 20 years, NATO and America have been ruling or have been involved in Afghanistan, but they could not build up that capacity which we are now discussing. I mean, that capacity is based on their own, capabilities or their own concerns. When the nation or the rulers or the communities doesn't grow or build itself or themselves, nobody, no country, no nation can support them for the upcoming of
So you're
that
saying
level.
that Afghanistan basically needs to focus on nation building.
Definitely, by
Okay.
themselves. It is their entire responsibility to build it by themselves. Because if they don't have the capacity, it means that they cannot run that country and they cannot lead that nation. And if they cannot run that country on the level of the need of the time, I mean, they will spoil and they will be spoiling their nation.
Of course. Now, Mr. Malik, with the defense perspective, what can you add to this, considering that it is a prime focus for nation building, that, in order to have a nation that is thriving and successful and, progressing, it is important. A key factor for all of these things is nation building. Could you add something to this?
Yeah, before I do that, just a brief comment on Mr. Ali's remarks. It's not the Durand line anymore after expiry of the agreement 100 years. It's now international border, and the least we expect from Afghanistan is that they should respect the international border. While we have fenced the border, we are doing this surveillance also. They should cooperate on that count, so that at least there is a visible sense of comfort of them having acknowledged the international border. Coming to your question now, I think the fault is definitely, because ultimately the responsibility of nation building resides with the nation itself. Foreign rulers would come, or foreign invaders will come, foreign forces or foreign support even would come with certain vested interests which are time bound, objective oriented, and they would fizzle out. The same thing has happened. Billions of dollars have gone into capacity building of their law enforcement agencies, but you see,
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened because they were built, on the lines of militias. They were never built on the lines of a regular army or police force, because that suited at that time to the NATO forces, because they were trying to please everybody who mattered within the context of internal politics. And the then Kabul regime, Mr. Karzai and then Ashraf Ghani, they were minting money, and they were making fool of the Western world, and all the money which was supposed to be pumped into the capacity building, we don't see any results. The moment those funding sources were dried up post withdrawal, the entire infrastructure of their law enforcement collapsed.
Definitely the funds matter, but the commitment, the vision, the way of thinking or the priorities matter more, because as Mr. Malik has mentioned, that billions of dollars came in Afghanistan during Karzai government and Ashraf Ghani government, and that money was given by America and the West to Afghanistan. But Afghanistan could not stand or could not flourish or could not establish its institutions. Not only the institutions, but also they could not even establish their armed forces as well. When Taliban came, what was the retaliation or response of the armed forces? That was the incapacity, and the lack of that command, which we saw in 2021 when Afghan Taliban came in Afghanistan.
All right, now what is the option for Pakistan in this whole situation? Mr. Ali, coming to you, what would you like to say regarding this?
Pakistan should ask Afghanistan to solve its internal matters, solve its internal issues, the fissures they have there, they need to fix it for themselves. Only when they fix their internal issues can they move to international acceptance and making a foreign policy and an economic policy which will lead to their development.
All right,
Pakistan is already making, very important measures regarding its law and order situation or the economic sector, which Mr. Ali is mentioning. Definitely, economy concerns and the indicators of Pakistan economy in the future or near future or months or years are very positive. Definitely, within few months or a year or so, Pakistan will not be facing that economic crunch which now Pakistan is facing. And one more thing which is very important, that is the control on law and order situation. For this, Pakistan will have to enhance its own capacity as well for combating that terrorism, or that terrorism will have to be combated in a different way now, because the way Pakistan has been combating, it had not been that much successful, which is the need of the time. We will have to rethink once again and change the strategy to counter that level of terrorism which we are facing.
Of course. So now that you've mentioned strategy, do you think that Pakistan needs to maybe reevaluate its foreign policy with, taking into consideration the whole situation?
Definitely, because the foreign policy is always reshaped.
Okay.
According to the regional dimensions or the international dimensions, political dimensions, it is always reshaped, and Pakistan is reshaping it. And Pakistan will have to reshape it, especially as far as the Afghan matter is concerned, because Pakistan has always been doing a lot for Afghanistan. But Pakistan's goodwill gesture has never been honored or graced by Afghanistan. Now, Pakistan will have to keep itself away from the Afghan matters. We need not to poke anything in Afghan matters in future, and Pakistan government has already decided that we will never been having any concern with the Afghan internal matters. We'll keep ourselves aside, and we'll keep, we'll order our things, and we'll go for hot pursuit against the terrorists, no matter they are in Balochistan or they are in KPK. As far as the Afghan government is concerned, definitely now Afghan government, the ball is in the court of Afghan government. Now they will have to respond according to the wills and wishes of Pakistan government.
Of course. Now, Mr. Malik, coming to you, I feel like you would be the best person to ask this question with respect to the defense
perspective. Thank you very much. I have always been on the same forum of Pakistan Taliban. I have been saying that Pakistan needs to revamp its Afghan policy. We should always talk to them from the position of strength, because that's the only language which probably culturally and historically would be understood. And because repeatedly we have tried to appease them through negotiation, and but it has never
or the goodwill gesture which Pakistan has shown,
they have always been, their attitude has been always been very thankless towards. They take all the advantages.
That shows that they don't understand that mechanism or that.
And I think recently the present interim government, I think we must appreciate them, that caretaker Prime Minister has very candidly expressed his opinion, which of course is a policy, that for example, the issue of repatriation of illegal immigrants in Pakistan. Like any other sovereign state, Pakistan had all the rights to do that. Afghan government regime, they showed some reservation on that, and there was some resistance, and social media hype was to be created, but Pakistan had stood firm on its ground, and I think that's the way that we should be handling them, instead of just trying to talk to them through negotiation, and where they think that they can coerce us into their advantage. Probably that would not be fair.
Mr. Malik, with all due respect, I'd just like to interject for a second now. With the mention of repatriation of the illegal Afghans, we're sending them back to their respective home country in a dignified manner. What do you think should be the next step?
You see, please, I would still like to clarify that it's not repatriation of Afghan refugees per se. There were two categories of Afghan refugees who are in Pakistan, who are documented. They have two different kind of registration, and they are living not in the camps. They are living and enjoying all the facilities, be it medical, healthcare, education, job and business in Pakistan. This repatriation is only of those illegal immigrants, which was not per se designed for Afghanis only. This was for all illegal immigrants. We do have certain other nationalities also, particularly in Karachi area. There are people from certain other regional countries also. But it so happened that the large chunk was Afghanis who were particularly in KP and Islamabad area, so they were repatriated. So any country has the rights to deport anybody who is an alien and unregistered.
One thing is very important in this regard, that Afghan government is keeping in mind that return of those illegal Afghan which were living in Pakistan. They're not saying thank you very much to Pakistan, who has been taking care of those millions of Afghan refugees in Pakistan, and they have absorbed them in society of Pakistan and has beared that burden, which is really a burden for Pakistan, because they are multiplied to almost 10 million. They came for 3 to 4 million, but now they are over 10 million. So Pakistan is bearing that burden, and Afghanistan should realize that goodwill gesture for Pakistan. And as far as the return of those illegal immigrants is concerned, yes, Pakistan has decided to send all the illegal immigrants of all the nations, not only the Afghans, but definitely the Afghans are in a big number. That return is very important.
Well, let's hope that things do get better. But again, just to quickly ask Mr. Ali, what should be the next step, after the repatriation?
After the repatriation, we should work towards. Am I audible?
Signals
yes, we are audible.
After repatriation, we should look at our systems. We should look at how we can help the Afghan government in caring for people, and how we can help them in stability in Afghanistan, so as people don't have to migrate from conflict or from joblessness to other countries in the region.
It's very important because Afghans have long been, for decades, they have been used to coming to Pakistan without any document, coming just the other way. Now Pakistan for the first time has decided to send them back and ask them, please, when you try to come to Pakistan, definitely we'll welcome you, but after getting that visa. Because they are not used to have that visa for Pakistan. They have been thinking that Pakistan is their home. Pakistan is not their home, it is a country. And when you want to come to Pakistan, definitely you apply, you take visa, yes, come and go. So this is the main problem which they don't want to realize. But Pakistan will have to save its own territory or its own borders. Pakistan has done, more than what Pakistan could do. Now, Afghan government will have to, respond. The ball is in their court now.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. But it's been a pleasure to have Naveed Aman Khan and Air Vice Marshal retired Ijaz Malik and Mr. Syed Zulfiqar Ali here on Views on the News. It is a pleasure to have you guys again. Thank you so much for your time. And we are now at the end of our show, and it was a very enlightening discussion that we had today with all of the respected guests. And we genuinely hope that we were able to contribute, to the important aspects related to the Afghan Taliban government. And with that, I would like to say good evening and good night.